Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on Our News. Trade unions barred from having a Labor Day motorcade. Discrimination still a problem in the workplace. The Chief Justice explains recent judicial appointments. Plus, when will the pandemic end? Happy Labor Day, everyone. Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jillian Gray. Topping news tonight, dark, gloomy, and simply a sad day is how trade unionists described the 60th anniversary of Labor Day. They were denied approval for a motorcade. Despite this, they assembled and attempted to defy the denied request. Heavily armed officers barred motorists from driving through the streets as they headed to the National Stadium to assemble for the motorcade.
All this government is doing is allowing the people to get fight and we will not stand by idly. Okay? And this is how the movement began. And this will be the way it will end.
One of the greatest days in our life that Bahamian workers have solidarity with each other, that they fought for the rights of all Bahamians. And here we are now, don't have permission to go on the streets. It's a damn disgrace what happened in this country, man. That's got to stop.
This is the worst position the labor movement, the workers of this country has been. You tell me you can't even participate in a lawful, orderly motorcade. I mean, that take you back to 1942.
TUC President Obie Ferguson called it vexing that after waiting for more than a month for a response from the government, officials waited until the eve of Labor Day to deny their request for a motorcade.
He indicated that the chief medical officer and the OAC committee recommended that we ought not have this parade. Now, this is very vexing.
Dozens gathered to support trade unionists. Union leaders say today was only a representation of what they've been experiencing for some time: disrespect and neglect.
You must respect workers.
Yes. Amen.
If there is respect for workers, there will be improved productivity and there'll be a greater economy.
In front of the Labor Board explaining their lack of respect,
My Lord.
their lack of adherence
Yes.
to not only the Constitution, the labor laws, and our collective agreement, but their lack of respect to the workers of this country. This must stop.
You got the trade utilities in court fighting for basic rights.
That's right.
How dare you put the Bahamians in such a position?
My Lord.
Imagine if we were to demonstrate. Your light off, your water off, and your phone off.
My Lord.
And you got us in court fighting for insurance when we go through that pandemic.
They added that while they may be ignored now, there will be a reckoning on Election Day, as they've advised their members to vote for those who are for the workers' agenda.
Those who are in the unions and those who are out of the unions, please do us all a favor to register. And my God, please vote for those people who have your interests. Because you can't tell me the government has the interest of us.
And one thing we can say, that if this current administration does not have our best interests at heart, then we should not go to the polls and have their best interests at heart. Because we cannot afford to fight for another 5 years.
Foreigners can't vote in elections. Bahamians do. And my thing is, you got to deal with your own people. And the PM has to come and talk to Labour.
Though officials allowed the crowd to line up and leave the stadium, they weren't allowed to continue on the planned route. After pulling off from the National Stadium, cars only made it a few feet before officers stopped each one, breaking the flow of the parade. What was a bustling train of more than 30 cars when they left the stadium had fizzled to less than a dozen by the time as they hit Tonique William Starling Highway. Dozens of party supporters joined PLP Deputy Leader Chester Cooper, who came to support trade unionists.
We believe it's been long enough for them to implement laws
Yes.
Yes, sir.
to get us back to a state of normalcy.
Yes.
But clearly, the Prime Minister is enjoying this state of play.
He's a dictator.
But nothing will stop our support for the labor movement today. And therefore, I congratulate Brother Ferguson for standing up for workers. I congratulate the labor movement on this, their diamond anniversary.
Well, labor unions over on Grand Bahama were also upset that their request for a motorcade was denied, but they didn't let the lack of permission stop them from celebrating.
It is unfortunate over the years, the sacrifices that were made by our leaders, our forefathers of yesteryear. We've come full circle and we find ourselves having to put up the same battle.
As trade unionists on Grand Bahama stood together to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Labor Day, they gathered outside the BUT headquarters to reflect on the strides in the labor movement.
You cannot tell the history of the modern Bahamas without the labor movement. And that being as important as it is, as significant it is, it behooved us to come out and say, to thank Sir Randall and to thank the workers for building this country and to celebrate with our brothers and sisters that milestone after milestone we have done for this country. We put our blood, our sweat, our tears. Some people have literally died. Some have made tremendous sacrifices. Even so, the people who denying us our sacrifices allowed them to sit where they are.
Despite the advances made over the past 60 years, trade unionists say being denied a motorcade was a dark cloud over what should have been a sunny day.
We're going to make the best of it. We're going to enjoy Sir Randall Fox Labor Day, and we're going to celebrate the life and times of Sir Randall.
We do obey authority because we are teachers, so we have to follow the rules. But we can't take today, however, to say we do have a voice.
For Vice President of the TUC, Kirkland Russell, the rejection for a motorcade left them feeling neglected and insulted.
June 16, the government expects its first school ship here in Grand Bahama. The convoys of buses and taxis are ready to move tourists coming in to Grand Bahama from the harbor to their point of destination. You mean to tell me bus drivers and taxi drivers do not know how to motorcade safely on Sir Randall Fox Labor Day?
Union leaders spoke out on several challenges facing the workforce on the island.
They believe that the best route to employ young Bahamians is to bring them on a contract or a temporary basis. These persons can't live or start their lives under those conditions.
We still do have issues as teachers. So we're standing here to say, even though we are obeying the order, that we do want a teachers' commission. We do want our classrooms to always be safe, our children to be safe.
Stand for your rights, because it's easily taken away. Right now, you don't have a job. There are 30,000 work permits out there. Work permits, and Bahamians can't get work permits.
PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell says the PLP did not support the Prime Minister's decision not to allow the motorcade and added that it's time to get rid of the restrictive measures.
Not only is it irresponsible to deny and suppress freedom, but what it also does is puts an unnecessary tension between the police and the people of the country. It is time to rid ourselves of these elements of the law which suppress our civil liberties. And today is never a better time.
As the country observes Sir Randall Fox Labor Day, Director of Labor John Pinder says the country still has a long way to go, particularly when it comes to discrimination in the workplace.
It's going to be difficult to move away from that simply because of our country's constitution, which gives you the right to express, freedom of expression, freedom of association, and those sort of things. So you should not be able to tell me as maybe I cannot associate with the Rastafarians, or by expression from African descent, I can't get naturally along, or that sort of thing. And it's very difficult to amend our constitution to not speak those things. The same thing as relates to the constitution speaking of being built on Christian principles and Christian values.
Pinder said so many employers are not willing to hire employees because of things like dreadlocks or tattoos, which he says is still discrimination. He added more Bahamians should take such matters to court.
Certainly, a lot of discrimination, certainly. And we're quite aware of some of the discrimination that takes place, but just that it's not challenged in the court of law. Okay? So I guess the more things that are challenged, the quicker we'll probably be able to make some amendments, you know.
Chief Justice Sir Brian Moree QC insisting the proper process was followed when it came to the recent selection of new judges and magistrates. Jasmine Brown reports.
Last weekend, it was revealed that the Judicial and Legal Service Commission had advised the Governor General to appoint 5 new Supreme Court justices and 5 new magistrates. Sir Brian said the appointments will provide much-needed additional resources to the judiciary. When asked about the process of selection, he said this.
The process of appointing judicial officers is similar to that which exists in many other countries. In this occasion, we advertised because we wanted it to be a fully transparent process. We wanted to have a level playing field, and everybody who was qualified and who wanted to apply, we wanted to give them an opportunity. So that occurred. We did get a number of applications. I think actually over 15 applications came in, and the Judicial and Legal Services Commission reviewed them with regard to the qualifications, the background, the experience. There was also a number of interviews. And then the Judicial and Legal Service Commission decided on those persons who the members thought were most suitable for appointment.
Sir Brian added,
I would just mention that the Judicial and Legal Services Commission is comprised of 5 members. So this is a decision that is made by those 5 members. And whenever you are reviewing applications, it's a matter of discretion, judgment, looking at your applications, looking at their background, their antecedents, their experience, their area of specialty, and then you make the best call that you can.
His comments came as some questioned the process. Juanita Denise Lewis-Johnson, Janine Weish-Gomez, and Andrew Forbes took their judicial oaths on Monday. Weish-Gomez leaves behind her post in the coroner's court. Given the backlog in cases there, the Chief Justice says a replacement will have to be found soon.
Hurricane Dorian really resulted in a lot of additional work for the coroner's court, and there was a backlog developing as after Hurricane Dorian. So we are going to be advertising for appointments to the coroner's court. There are a number of deputy coroners that we have now, several in New Providence and one in Grand Bahama. And so we're going to be deploying all of the deputy coroners together with a new appointment who will be appointed the coroner. That process should start within the next several weeks. We'll advertise for the post, and then the Judicial and Legal Services Commission will consider the applications and advise His Excellency the Governor General who to appoint.
The Commission also advised Sir Cornelius to appoint Neil Brathwaite as a Justice of the Supreme Court effective June 14, 2021, and Camille Darville Gomez as a Supreme Court Justice effective August 3, 2021. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
1 week after Atlantis Resort announced that its workers will have to pay for their own rapid antigen tests as of September, a senior executive at Bahamar was asked if the Cable Beach Resort could soon follow suit. Bethany McDermott has that.
No decision has been made by Bahamar about asking staff members who haven't been vaccinated to pay for their own COVID tests, according to Senior Executive Vice President of Government and External Affairs, Robert Sands.
I am sure most operators are looking to the way forward, having supported their associates in providing free of charge this particular cost. At some point in time, I'm sure individual properties will make that particular decision. No decision has been made here at Bahama at this time.
Last weekend, the Atlantis Resort told its staff that effective September 1st, employees not vaccinated will have to pay for their own COVID-19 rapid antigen test, which is needed to be allowed on the property. Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar said Monday, Atlantis is just living up to its duty to provide a safe environment for its staff and guests.
Has there been any talks in that regard? Has there been a discussion?
There's always been discussion globally on all options going forward.
Earlier this week, SAN said roughly 1,400 of Bahama's 4,000 employees have been vaccinated.
But we have been, in fact, encouraged by the amount of our own associates that have taken up the challenge for vaccines. We are pleasantly surprised as to the amount that have done it so far, and we continue to encourage them to take the vaccine here at Bahama. The fact that this facility is here was somewhat national contribution, but also somewhat selfish, to make the opportunity for our associates to partake in this arrangement.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
There's more news on the way, but first, meteorologist Greg Thompson is in studio with holiday weather. Hey, Greg.
Thanks, Jillian. Welcome on our Labor Day Friday weather. We take a look at our current conditions outside our studios. A very warm day around the islands. Temperature managing to get up into the mid to upper 80s. We are settling now into the upper 70s, 78 degrees outside our studios. Under partly cloudy skies, your winds out of the southeast bringing in those warm temperatures, and you'll feel slight temperature also in the mid to upper 70s. Satellite view, beautiful conditions around our area, lots of sunshine and very little rainfall. We will continue to see that southeast to southerly flow across the islands, and that will continue to be the trend for the rest of the evening. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come, the Ministry of Social Services takes a giant step towards digitization. Plus, when will the pandemic end? Stay with us.
Wake up with Bahamas at sunrise on RTV channel 212. We are live at 6:30 a.m. on Mondays and Fridays, with rebroadcast at 8 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and 9 a.m. on Saturdays. Bahamas at Sunrise brings you the best in Bahamian entertainment, current events, politics, and more. With us, your hosts, Anastasia Palacios and Phil Simon. Bahamas at Sunrise, the best in Bahamian morning television.
Nearly 9,000 Bahamians are now fully vaccinated against COVID-19, according to the Ministry of Health. Slow but steady progress since the administration of second doses of the vaccine began in mid-May. But how much longer will the COVID-19 pandemic continue? Christina Dragovich reports.
How the world will be in 1 year is very related with the access to vaccines.
According to the Ministry of Health, as of May 29th, 55,037 doses of the vaccine have been administered in the country. 46,378 residents have received at least one dose, and 8,659 people, or about 2% of the population, is now considered fully vaccinated. Pan American Health Organization Assistant Director Dr. Jarbas Barbosa says experts anticipate the world will have to achieve much higher levels of vaccination to get the virus under control.
We don't know yet what is the immunization coverage level that we need to control the transmission. But some estimation said that you need at least 70 or 80%.
He explains control is when there's still transmission of the virus in a low level that cannot disrupt society or cause harm to life or health. PAHO officials say control is different from eradication.
We are not talking about eradication of COVID-19 in 1 year. Eradication is when we have eliminated completely a disease.
The Bahamas is currently in its third wave of COVID-19 infections, with several islands under 14-day lockdowns. PAHO officials hope the picture will be much different in a year.
We hope that in 1 year we have this pandemic controlled, but again, this is very related with the equitable access for every country in the world to the vaccines that they need.
The Ministry of Social Services launched its Management Information System Promise this week. Minister of Social Services Frankie Campbell says it's a giant step towards modernizing the ministry.
There's lots of excitement at the Department of Social Services. We've launched our much anticipated Management Information System Promise. Promise is a platform that will position our clients one click away from food assistance, burial assistance, rental assistance, and all of the other assistance that we give at the Department of Social Services.
The system went live on New Providence on June 1st. Campbell says it will go live on the Family Island soon, allowing Bahamians seeking social assistance to make applications for various programs electronically.
All of our clients from today on will be entered into the platform. They will be benefiting from the digital wallet that we have been testing. I want to add that Promise is not just a digital platform, it is also a philosophy. The philosophy of Promise is to give prompt, effective, and efficient service. That portion of the Promise is being launched today. It is a reality. Our clients have waited, they have been patient. Our internal clients have worked hard night and day, and I'm pleased to say that we've reached this milestone. Technology is not a destination, so there will be ongoing updates.
Still to come on our news, how to make sense of the budget. And the Bahamas Christian Council applauds government's tax exemptions. Stay with us.
Wake up with Bahamas at sunrise on RTV channel 212. We are live at 6:30 a.m. on Mondays and Fridays, with rebroadcast at 8 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and 9 a.m. on Saturdays. Bahamas at Sunrise brings you the best in Bahamian entertainment, current events, politics, and more. With us, your hosts, Anastasia Palacios and Phil Simon. Bahamas at Sunrise, the best in Bahamian morning television.
This is our news. Welcome back. The government has laid out its fiscal plans for the next year, but what does it all mean? Christina Dragovich takes a look at how one organization is working to help businesses make sense of the budget.
There seemed to be somewhat of a disconnect at certain periods of time between whether or not an announcement is made to the benefit of the business community and whether the entire business community is advised of it and knows about it.
Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation Chairman Crystal Rutherford Ferguson says the organization is working to bridge the gap between policy and action. The Prime Minister recently making several announcements in the House of Assembly that are expected to impact small and medium-sized businesses directly. It's a sector of the economy that has grown significantly over the past 4 years.
The number of registered small and medium-sized businesses has grown by 58% since 2017, from 24,241 to 38,227 at the end of 2020.
While the Prime Minister touched on initiatives including duty-free concessions and an employment incentive program for businesses, Rutherford Ferguson says more details are needed.
Taking the information that is communicated in the House, those incentives, those programs, and making sure that our members and the wider business community is aware.
Rutherford Ferguson notes that some elements of the 2021-22 budget appear to be a positive step for the business community. However, other measures, including increased borrowing, are concerning, as many expect that to lead to a hike in taxation. Reporting for our news, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernander thanked the government for the tax exemption for churches. He says many churches in the north were damaged after Dorian, and the exemption will go a long way in the rebuilding process.
These churches that make themselves available for hurricane shelters get no pay from the government of the Bahamas, and when they are damaged, we are not assisted in any way in the repairs because there's no law that allows public funds to be used for churches in their repair. So this at least allows us to repair the structures that have been made available to the country. I think if you look around, not only are the whole houses still have blue from Samaritan Purse on their roofs, but the churches are still in disarray. And so we need that help so that we can get the structures back to save lives.
Fernando says he understands the position of some hardware stores that have expressed concerns about how the exemption will affect their businesses, but the church has no problem with stores facilitating the duty-free concession and recommended that they discuss that possibility with the government.
And I think that's a consideration that the stores need to come to with the government, that maybe, I think this will be kind of interesting, maybe they can bring it in at duty-free prices, and if it's compatible, that we could just purchase them locally.
Still to come, what all companies need during the pandemic, and celebrating Bahamian heritage at the Miami Marlins game. Stay tuned.
Wake up with Bahamas at sunrise on RTV channel 212. We are live at 6:30 a.m. on Mondays and Fridays, with rebroadcast at 8 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and 9 a.m. on Saturdays. Bahamas at Sunrise brings you the best in Bahamian entertainment, current events, politics, and more. With us, your hosts, Anastasia Palacios and Phil Simon. Bahamas at Sunrise, the best in Bahamian morning television.
What's in store for us weather-wise over the holiday weekend? Greg is back in studio with the extended forecast.
Thanks again, Jillian, and good Friday evening, everybody. A very nice day around the islands, temperature-wise. It was on the warm side. That upper level that was causing all the weather across our area is now drifting towards the south and east and away from us. That is paving the way for a high-pressure system in the Atlantic to dominate our weather. That will continue to provide us with a nice weekend, and the breezy conditions will be picking up beginning tomorrow and into next week. Boating conditions for the northwest Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. We expect those winds to be out of the southeast at 10 to 15 knot seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. While in the central and southeastern islands, we have a caution flag posted for you boaters down there. East to southeast winds 15 to 20, seas running 4 to 6 feet over the ocean. Your low tide will be at 11:09 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Wednesday. The tropics remaining quiet at this time. Beautiful conditions expected on the weekend. That's a look at our weather. Back to you, Jillian.
With more employees working from home during the pandemic, companies are more at risk to hacks, according to Cloud Carib CEO Scott McKenzie. The Data and Cloud Services Manager says education and awareness on how to protect sensitive data are what companies should be teaching their employees.
If I put a malicious code into a PDF file that happens to be a resume, you have to open it. That's your job, right? So that's where you have to start looking at more advanced things like next generation firewalls, things that have threat prevention built into it that will automatically decrypt that file and then use a sandbox technology to ensure that there's no malicious code or a bad actor hasn't sent you something. Phishing is very, very common. I probably receive 30 to 50 phishing emails a day right now, like all sorts of things. And some of them are getting very good.
The recent hack and ransom of a gas pipeline in the United States has thrusted the need for cybersecurity back into the spotlight. For consumers who want to protect their data, McKinsey says it's about taking extra precautions to have layers of protection and backups.
A lot of these compromises, it's not something that happens immediately, and then you know that something happened. So the Colonial Pipeline, they think people were in the network 6 months before they actually executed the attack. The SolarWinds attack, the same thing. It was a very sophisticated actor that was in the network over a year before the actual compromise. People's houses typically are not a primary target because they're not going to be able to ransom most people for $5 million. But it's just good practices backing up your data and making sure your backups are actually secure.
McKinsey applauded the steps the government is taking to protect data as it pushes forward with its digitization services.
I think from an economics perspective, it's going to save society a lot of money by modernizing and digitizing services. And from what I understand, from what I've seen in the newspaper, they're doing the right things by setting up a cyber emergency response team or cyber incident response team, their CERT process. I think that's a very amazing thing for them to take the initiative to do that, because that's one of the drivers that will help create awareness and education.
Bahamians throughout Florida are being encouraged to bring their goatskin drums and flags to a special Bahamian Heritage celebratory game with the Miami Marlins on Saturday, June 12th at Lone Depot Park in Miami, Florida. The baseball game between the Miami Marlins and the Atlanta Braves is expected to celebrate the rich heritage and culture of the Bahamas, along with its close relationship with Miami. The celebration will feature a pre-game Junkanoo Rush-Out performance. The highlight of the game will honor Miami Marlins baseball player 23-year-old Jazz Chisholm. Jazz is the first Bahamian player with the Marlins franchise. Thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of our entire news team, I'm Jillian Gray. Enjoy your holiday weekend.